So today we worked on unit rates as independent and dependent variables. This is building off of what we learned on Friday, determining which is independent and which is dependent. So when we're using unit rates, this is a refresher because we did do these last semester. A unit rate always has a denominator of 1. So the bottom number is 1. A unit rate is an amount per 1 unit. So for example, if we have miles per hour can be written as this, can also be written in this way as a fraction, miles per hour. It's dependent over independent, or remember what dependent is, y over x. These are all very important and all interchangeable. Now, for instance, if I went 40 miles in 2 hours, how do I find out what my unit rate would be? Well, what I do is I write it as 40 miles per 2 hours. Now, I have to divide by my denominator to get 1. So if I divide this by 2 and this by 2, lo and behold, I end up with 20 miles in 1 hour. Okay, so that would be my unit rate because my denominator is 1. So we'll just mark that as the unit rate. All right, so now y is the result of whatever happened with x. That is just something to remember when we get into our scenario and what we need to do here. Okay, so here's our example scenario. A sandwich shop sold 32 sandwiches in 8 hours. So that's what they told us. We need to know what is the independent variable. So we have the number 32 sandwiches in 8 hours. So which one is independent? What would have to happen first? Do I make sandwiches without any time? No, I have to have time to make my sandwiches. So hours is my independent variable, which equals, it would be my x. So only thing that's left over is my dependent variable, which is sandwiches. And I'm going to just abbreviate. Okay, so now it says to create an input-output chart and find the pattern. What is the pattern? So the input-output chart happens to be a T-chart, but it's a horizontal T-chart. So first, I'm going to draw my horizontal line. I'm going to go only about here, and I'm going to say X and Y. So X, then Y. We said hours was our X and sandwiches was our Y. Now, we have a lot of good information here. So I'm actually going to just jot down what I do. First off, horizontal T-chart. Okay. Secondly, I'm going to plug in my known info. All right. The third thing is to start with your origin, and we'll review what that is. And our fourth thing is to find the per hour rate. We also call that the unit rate. Ooh, I'm running out of room. Don't want that to happen. Okay, so that's kind of small, but here, move it a little bit over. And you can always review and rewind and get that information. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is plug in the information I know. Well, I have 8 and 32. Second one is to start with the origin. So you know what I'm going to do? I am going to start with the origin. If you recall, the origin is x is 0, y is 0. So here's 1 because I have 8 hours. So I'm going to put my hours all in place because they just go chronologically. And because it's the independent variable, I can do that. And we said 32. So there is steps 1 and 2. Now I need to figure out what is my per unit rate. Well, if you recall, over here, we have x over y, and then we divide by the denominator. So I'm going to take, I'm sorry, y over x, my apologies. So y over x is 32 over 8. And then I divide by 8 and divide by 8. And what do I end up with? 4 to 1. Oh, wait. It's 4y and 1x. So that's what I'm going to write in. Now, that means for every hour, there's 4 sandwiches. So here I would add 4 and get 8. Here I would add 4 and get 12. Here I would add 4 and get 16. Here I add 4 and I get 20. Here I add 4 and get 24. Here I add 4 and get 28. And here I would add 4 and get 32. Oops, I forgot to write in my add 4. So as you can see, I have adding 4 as my pattern. Okay, so it says, what is the pattern? We would add 4, or else we could see this as repeated multiplication or multiply by 4. We'll talk more about that, but there's our pattern. Now, one thing I want to mention is the unit rate. This right here is my unit rate. So anytime you have 1 as x, that is your unit rate when you're using the independent and dependent variables. I've got a few more questions that we're going to answer using this chart. So I'm going to be going back and forth, so I apologize if it gets a little jumpy. So here, what is the unit rate? I just said it. So here, my unit rate is 4 to 1. That's at 4 sandwiches for every hour. So let's see. We can write it in a couple different ways. We can say 4 sandwiches per 1 hour, or we could say 4 sandwiches per hour. Okay. How many sandwiches were sold in 1 hour? Well, if this is 1 hour, that means there are 4 sandwiches sold. Okay. How many are sold in 7 hours? Well, let's go and look at our chart. Let's see, do we have that? Let's look. Here's hours. There's 7. It looks like sandwiches sold. It would be 28. Ooh. Okay. So I can go back and I can say 28 sandwiches sold. Okay. How many are sold in 12 hours? Well, I could continue on this chart. I could in my brain just keep adding 4 until I get to 12 hours. Or I could have y is the result of that number times x. What number did we repeatedly add? Well, we call this number m. I know it's weird, but that's okay. So let's go back here and we'll do it with that number 4, because we have 4. So y is the result, and this is the result of 4 times x. So now can I plug in? Because this, remember, is x, and how many sandwiches is y? Okay, let's do it. Y equals 4 times 12. Y equals 48 sandwiches. So you could say it's 48 sandwiches in 12 hours. Okay, what if the sandwich shop is open 16 hours? How many sandwiches would be sold then? This is where you use your formula. Again, it makes it easy. So 4, y is 4 times x. That's our unit rate. Remember, that's our unit rate. That's why it's there. Now I can plug in. Y equals 4 times 16. Got to do the hard work. Y equals 64. So 64 sandwiches in 16 hours. And there you have it.